sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly 2013 to 2017 session took place in the Assembly Chamber at Gillingham Street, where Assemblyman Orville London moved a motion for effective disaster management practices throughout Tobago.
Mr. Presiding Officer, there is a traditional concept of natural disasters. And when we think of natural disasters, we think of disasters that cannot be forecasted, that they're unpredictable in scope and impact, and that they make news. The storms, the floods, the earthquakes, whatever. The kind of TV6, Channel 5, CNN type of natural disasters. But I'm saying, Mr. Presiding Officer, that there's another level of natural disasters about which we must speak and with which we must treat. They're a little bit more insidious, but quite pervasive and potentially more devastating, especially to small island states like Tobago. And we're talking here about the impact of global warming. We're talking here about the issues of coastal erosion. We're talking here about wastewater management. We're talking about the pollution of the marine environment. We're talking about the bleaching and eventual destruction and degradation of our coral reefs and diving sites. But more importantly, as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Presiding Officer, we have to treat with our responsibility to preserve the pristine nature of nature's gift to us. But I want us all as Tobagonians to recognize how very fortunate we are to look around at Tobago as it was and Tobago as it should be, and to accept that we have been bequeathed a jewel of an island. And in those circumstances, as anyone who has something precious, you have a responsibility to protect it, and to preserve it, and to do everything possible to ensure that it retains its natural state. And therefore, one of the major objectives of this discussion, as I indicated, is to intensify the conversation on all aspects of what we consider potential natural disasters or potential negative impact on what nature has bestowed on us. And it is in that context that we want to treat with the whole idea of a comprehensive disaster management plan, a comprehensive disaster management process, a comprehensive disaster management mindset among the people of Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, we have the whole question of the education and information campaign. And again, throughout the last 4 to 5 years, that particular aspect has been intensified. And it is in that context, Mr. Presiding Officer, that I want to pay particular attention to an ongoing vulnerability and risk management campaign. In 2007, TEMA would have started a program, and the whole idea was to deal with the level of vulnerability and risk in various communities. And Mr. Presiding Officer, what came out of that particular study indicated that there were a number of communities in Tobago that were high risk. And the whole idea behind the effort was to go into those communities, talk to the people, actually prepare documents like these, community hazard and resource map, one for Charlottesville, one for Delaford, one for Speyside. So some of the high-risk communities, we actually had TEMA go into these high-risk communities, speak to the people, examine all the issues, and then, of course, make recommendations and have critical responses so that we can determine how best to mitigate some of the challenge. Because all of us know that when we have natural disasters in Tobago, that some communities are more at risk than others. This is an ongoing task. Of the 20 communities that have been targeted, 8 have already been completed, and of course they've been done very thoroughly, so that we're hoping that within the next, I would say within the next year, all 20 communities will be targeted and we'll be able to come up with the kind of information that will help in the mitigation process. Mr. Presiding Officer, disaster management has to be a collaborative effort. Disaster management has to be premised on a mindset that pervades the entire society. Disaster management cannot be about response after the disaster. It has to be about the level of preparedness. It has to be about the level of responsibility and the desire and the will to make a small investment now so that you can prevent a disastrous financial burden later on. Because I'll tell you what this does, Mr. Presiding Officer, is that it places significant challenges, or burden, sorry, on the Tobago House of Assembly. And I'm saying what we're doing today is just stage 1, to sensitize the island about what is happening in their homes as we speak, about what is happening in their communities as we speak. But I'm saying to you, Mr. Presiding Officer, that at our next Executive Council meeting, we will be discussing ways and means, and I will be putting some proposals to the Executive Council that will allow us, hopefully afford us the opportunity to assist those who are willing to assist themselves. For example, we will consider or the proposal is that we will consider and maybe make special provision for, because I know it is being considered, but we make special provision for the installation of hurricane traps, guttering, drainage, and so on, and treat those as a special category that will be given special consideration under home improvement grants and home improvement subsidy programs. Because I'm saying that there's assembly self-interest in that, you know. Because if you could prevent the disaster, then the assembly too will save some money and, of course, prevent some distress further down the road. I think TEMA, as was said, remains a beacon. And TEMA provides the kind of platform from which we can launch a number of initiatives. I think that we have a process that allows the Division of Infrastructure, Division of Health and Social Services, the Division of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and the Environment, the fire services, the police, ODPM, all the agencies to play their part in this collaborative effort. And I think that we are doing, I would say, better than most other jurisdictions in this respect. But I'm saying, Mr. Presiding Officer, and I want to say it very firmly, there is a lot of work to be done. We have got to do some serious soul searching. We have got to do some serious research. We've got to treat with all those areas where we are having challenges, and of course ensure that we protect what nature has given us.
Mr. Presiding Officer, this motion is most timely. Bringing a motion to this House at this time is most timely. Because, as you know, Mr. Presiding Officer, this is the season. We are in the hurricane season. And we as a people, sometimes we forget. It's only when we are caught up in the action that we get serious. And Tobago lies just below the hurricane belt. And we must be prepared. TEMA being the coordinating agency, the coordinating department for the Tobago House of Assembly under the control of the Chief Secretary. That department is under the Chief Secretary. At this point in time, Mr. Presiding Officer has that responsibility to remind and to educate our people to have themselves ready, prepared in the event that the disaster of storms or hurricane should hit Tobago. I think now is the time where we have to get together and help the Assembly, help yourself to get your lands and your property clean up and get it ready, prepare. Don't wait till they hit you, prepare. And I just want to look at a few areas where the Assembly and the people we should be looking at this point in time. Cleaning of our rivers, very important. I know the EMA is of the view that we should not take gravel out the river. Today all that was stopped. And because of that, the amount of gravel coming down into the rivers are not even going out to the sea, but staying within the river bank. That depth you had in the river is no longer there. It's flattening out. And because it is flattening out, it's eroding the lands. We have to go in and dredge the river, build banks again to create that flow out to sea and to save the land, because we're going to lose our lands. So the EMA will have to understand what happens in Tobago, get the history. I'm not saying we should go and dredge deep holes into the river, dredging the river, systematically coming down, proper grading, putting back those ponds, because there are some areas where we had the ponds, we call it the deep hole. We used to dive in those holes and bathe long ago in the rivers, because they reduce the runoff of the water, not heavy rush down the road. With those ponding, you create the ponding. And sometimes we can start ponding some more because we can save water for our farmers and avoid all the water going out to sea, because we can keep some on the land for our farming population. Let me just say, cleaning of drains is important. We have to clean the drains, which is important to all of us. And the Division of Infrastructure will go out there and play its part cleaning the drains. But TEMA, Mr. Presiding Officer, has been setting certain trends in Tobago, operating in a sort of way where they are showing way through TEMA that Tobago can manage. Tobago managing the mopping up when we have disaster. I want to make it clear, Mr. Presiding Officer, that TEMA having pointed the way that Tobago can manage, you can imagine when Tobago gets this internal self-governance, how well it can manage the entire country. Because we have been pointing the way to show good management in the Tobago House of Assembly with TEMA. You check it out. In everything done in Tobago, if it's in culture, tourism, you name it. This Tobago House of Assembly, the People's Government of Tobago, should be given that credit, now managed by the People's National Movement, for holding Tobago House of Assembly and running with it for good governance and for the benefit of the people of Tobago.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I've given the task of the responsibility for social services, and where social services have really and truly been part of this whole exercise of disaster with TEMA. Social service is really a department really chartered in terms of seeking of vulnerable and even those who are marginalized group of persons in terms of society, women, children, persons with disability, the elderly, and even those persons that are ex-prisoners and who are deportees, and most of all, the persons who are living with HIV and AIDS. And so, Mr. Presiding Officer, when you look at what and where the Department of Social Service plays a pivotal role in terms of working with TEMA in that whole aspect of disaster on the island, I think it is important that each division continue to play their part to ensure that disaster and our people, when disaster hit, are well taken care of on this island. Mr. Presiding Officer, I must say the Cabinet Minute number 1372 of November 11th, 2010 have clearly moved to raise general assistance grants and not leaving out the Tobago House of Assembly. They have moved right away to ensure that Tobagonians are not left behind, but we are side by side working. This caring assembly have moved to ensure that we do the same as what Trinidad is doing. So in September 28, 2011, the Executive Council take all this into consideration and saying, we are going to ensure that if disaster hit, our people are well taken care of. And so the housing assistance grant have moved from $10,000 to $15,000. And that goes to show that our people don't have to wait on the lumber cart passing around to distribute, but this caring government could hand you some money where you can get your place back together in one piece. This caring administrator have partnered with the cabinet and said, we're going to move the $4,500 for housing items to now $6,000. And we have continued down the line where they have made so many changes to ensure that we are taken care of. We have to understand something. When a grant is given, there must be a time frame. And to each of these housing grant and all of that is given, we give a 3-month period. But if the need arises, we extend it to 6 months. That's what you do in social service. But I feel people believe that everything must be given in their hand, so they continue to wait and take and take and take. But I think we have to understand something. When disaster hit, it may hit you now. Tomorrow will hit somebody else. And if we continue to learn to share with one another, we'll ensure that the people of Tobago are well taken care of. So we're going to share it. So I want to let the people know that it's not a grant forever. There's a time limit. At 3 months, if the need arises, we extend it to 6 months. But that also based on studies and actually going out there and have the social workers assessing the problem of what is taking place. Because we are caring assembly, we're not going to leave you just sitting idle. We ensuring that you are well taken care of. Because even we go back and we look at rental of homes, and we have been doing a lot of that for persons who cannot provide their home. So when those disasters hit the last time, It moved from 4,500 to 7,500 to assist persons who have to rent homes in the time of disaster. And we go down the line. They even moved the funeral grant for personal disaster. You may lose your loved one. We assist in the magnitude of, let me see, they had $3,450, moved to $7,000. And that's a government who have continued to care, an assembly who is working to ensure that people are taken care of on this island. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, I want to assure you that this assembly and this Department of Social Service will continue to support, and I will really and truly want to say that we support the motion moved by the representative for Codler Hall, Scarborough Codler Hall, and it's very timely because, as Mr. Sandy have really stated, that we are in that season. It may or may not happen, but preparation is important. And to bring it at this point in time is seeing that the vision of this assembly is well taken into consideration. And we'll continue to ensure that whatever we do and plan for tomorrow is well taken and taking the interests of the people of Tobago.
Mr. Presiding Officer, the Division of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and the Environment is, in fact, poised to treat in with some of these disasters and to mitigate against some of them, or to mitigate against disasters when they arise. The Division of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and the Environment will continue to encourage as much farmers as possible to get on board in food production, especially as destruction of crops by natural disasters is unpredictable. So therefore, Mr. Presiding Officer, the more farmers plant, the less there would be a total wipeout then of crops as a result of natural disasters. Mr. Presiding Officer, the division is encouraging farmers to engage in the cultivation of root crops, such as sweet potatoes, yams, cassava, etc. In the case of the same hurricane, we can be assured that staples beneath the ground would be available as a source of food. Clearing and cutting of trees, it's essential because we are treating at present with a lot of access roads so as to give farmers the best means of traversing the area to their farms. And along those roadways, you'll have overhanging, you'll have trees that are threatening. So we need to ensure that, or as the division takes the initiative to ensure that these areas are taken care of. Mr. Presiding Officer, I want to just indicate that we are really susceptible to hurricanes. And our structures will have to be in a condition or at a level to withstand some of these heavy winds that will occur at times. And against that background, I want to really congratulate the Division of Settlements and Labor for the efforts that they are making in affording grants to households that need to renovate or upgrade their house. I want to say, as coming out from the Division of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and the Environment, that we are dedicated and committed to work with all divisions in collaborating, preventing, mitigating against these dreaded situations that could occur at times. So I want to support, I am supporting this motion fully as delivered by our Chief Secretary, and that we will, from the division, will certainly put our hearts and mind in that direction.
And let me thank all the speakers who supported this motion and for their input and, of course, their commitment to collaborating with each other and with the other agencies in all aspects of the disaster management. And Mr. Presiding Officer, I think that after listening to the presentations, I think we can feel fairly comfortable that the aspect of the various organizations working together to achieve the objectives, that this is a work in progress, obviously, but that we've made a lot of progress so far, and I think that we are well on the way. The point I'm making, Mr. Presiding Officer, is that this is about us, all of us. And each of us, in his or her own way, has a role and a responsibility in this massive exercise. Yes, there will be natural disasters. Yes, there will be some disasters whose impact are going to be devastating and unmanageable. But I'm saying that most disasters, many disasters can be prevented, most disasters can be mitigated. And all we ask in the various organizations, units, groups, and most importantly, the people of Tobago, is to play their role in ensuring that we in Tobago continue to engage in best practices.
Members, the question is, whereas natural disasters have had a negative and sometimes devastating impact on the island's infrastructure and the quality of life of its residents, and whereas all sectors of the society have the responsibility to collaborate in preventative and mitigation measures that would decrease any negative impact, and whereas the Tobago Emergency Management Agency, TEMA, has the responsibility to coordinate the implementation of comprehensive disaster management through the phases of prevention and mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery, and rehabilitation. And whereas divisions of the Tobago House of Assembly, other governmental agencies, private sector organizations, and civil society have been collaborating in all aspects of the process, be it resolved that this House support the initiatives of the Tobago Emergency Management Agency, TEMA, the divisions of the Tobago House of Assembly, other governmental agencies, private sector organizations, and civil society in their efforts to promote and implement effective disaster management practices throughout Tobago. And be it further resolved that this House urge all Tobago residents to collaborate in ensuring that best practices are instituted throughout the island. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The motion is therefore carried.
Thank you for joining us for the 9th sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly 2013 to 2017 session.